Okay, everybody, please silence your phones or put them on vibrate. Today is January the 15th. I'd like to call to order the meeting for the St. Augustine Port, Waterway, and Beach District. Please all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Secretary, please call the roll.
Commissioner Benjamin.
Present.
Commissioner Rivers. Commissioner Way.
Here.
Commissioner Brown.
Here.
Commissioner Flowers.
Here. All right, and I'd like to call the Secretary Treasurer's report.
For the city police law enforcement overtime of the $8,000 budgeted, we have spent $1,120 to date. St. Johns County Sheriff's overtime from the $20,000 committed, we have spent $1,268 to date. Derelict boats of the $14,000, we have spent $9,000. And what's available in the Florida State Board of Administration, Fund A is $22,429. In the operating account, we have $417,469. In the money market account, we have $1,677,980. You'll notice there's no interest because Center State failed to send me the bank statement. However, I did get an emailed copy today. The Summer Haven account balance says 204, but it's really 164 because I just sent to Rich Turnbull 40,000+. So that brings what I have in the Summer Haven account balance down to about 160,000. Of the taxes that were budgeted of 526,341 for our tax revenue, we have received to date 284,364. We're still waiting for approximately half, about 241,977 of expected revenue.
All right, any questions with regard to the Treasurer's report? Okay. Approval of the minutes of the regular meeting held on December 18th, and then I think we had some revisions also. I looked them over and I didn't see any problem with the revisions or anything. So I'd like to make a motion that we approve the minutes.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. All right. Engineering report.
I'll start with Salt Run. Last month we talked about replacing channel marker number 6. Over the past month I've contacted 4 different marine contractors. I have not received a call back or email back from anyone yet. So I'll keep trying, but I haven't made any progress to date.
I sent at least one.
And I sent it to Barry.
Yeah, $6,500 seemed like it was a lot for that. What do you think?
I thought last year was closer to $3,000 to $4,000.
Exactly. That's why I didn't approve the $6,500.
Yeah, is that for pulling it and replacing the pile?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, what company was that from?
Bacon Marine Construction. Yeah. I've called a couple others that I deal with all the time, and they said call me in 2020.
Yeah, that's the problem. For how busy everyone is, the rates are likely going to be higher than they may have been last year. So if we have someone willing to do it, I mean, that's a good thing. So we might
have to do it, at the $6,500. But if you can, call me by Wednesday and let me know, and then if not, we'll just go ahead and do that. It's got to get done.
Okay.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, moving on to Summer Haven. I did receive word after the last meeting that FEMA has committed another, I forget the exact amount, $90-something thousand as reimbursement from the emergency work we did after Irma. So Elise and I have to set up a teleconference with them and get that grant paperwork going. So some more fun, Elise. But that my understanding is that is pure reimbursement. There's no cost share involved, no strings attached. It's work that was already done in the first 30 days after Irma, and it's pure reimbursement for that.
So they'll just give us the money?
Yes.
So the teleconference is basically for give us the money?
Yes.
Okay.
Can,
Good at that.
Chairman, can I just go back to the pile replacement? That quote from Bacon, by the way, did not include the sign.
Right.
Okay, so I just
That's
wanted to throw that in there,
$200,
okay.
Okay, then, Summerhaven progress, Turnbull was up and running pretty good last week. They got quite a bit of work done. They ran into some more mechanical issues with the dredge, so the dredge is down for now, but they have the other equipment out there. So progress is ongoing, and they are committed to getting this done as fast as they can.
It looks like we're getting ready to run out of time on the permit, though. Doesn't it expire next month?
I sent in a request to DEP to extend the permit for as long as they are willing and able to. So I'm waiting for a call back. I think that expires February 6th.
Pretty close.
So yeah, pretty close.
Yeah.
But, I mean, we have money from a DEP grant to keep working on this. I don't see any problems with them granting us an extension.
Okay, what's the problem with the dredge? Did anybody know? Is it just old, what's up?
It's old.
Okay, how about another one? I mean, is it something from Dr. Dredge, or is it your dredge?
No, it's from Dr.
Okay, because if it's just a mechanical problem, can we get another dredge?
It's probably up and running today or first thing in the morning. This is a bad well, and we have to get it rewelded.
Okay,
Where the 10-inch goes from the boat to the 8-inch onshore.
okay, because we need to get moving on this, so we're running real close.
We'll get it done.
Okay, all right.
Can I ask a question about the Summerhaven?
Sure, go right ahead.
When was the project supposed to be finished?
January.
Originally, back in 2017, but then, we had Hurricane Matthew, which created a lot of problems, and that pushed the schedule back. Then we had Hurricane Irma in September 2017, so that, with Irma, made us pretty much run out of construction funds. So then we were on hold for a while until we got the $352,000 reimbursement from St. Johns County and the new grant, the $450,000 from DEP that came to us. I think we finalized the grant paperwork sometime in July of last year. So that's when we were really ready to restart reconstruction of the project after Irma.
And that was supposed to be done in just January, or just this month? I'm sorry, you
Well,
said...
there's no strict deadline with the new funds. The contractor, Turnbull, was, if they wanted to walk away from this project after Irma, they could have done that. According to the contract, they were done with the project. With Hurricane Irma impacting us, that gave them an out to just walk away if they wanted to. But they have been excellent to work with. They've given some construction discounts along the way. So they were not locked into any kind of construction schedule.
When you say they, the dredge company?
Turnbull Environmental, the contractor who's building the project.
Okay.
They were not locked into any sort of construction schedule with these new funds. And before we got all the paperwork finalized, they had other project obligations.
Right.
So they were working on finalizing those other projects before they could give this project their full attention again. So, from summer of last year throughout the fall, they were working on finalizing those other prior obligations. In November, they started mobilizing the dredge pipeline, fusing the pipeline so they could get their dredge up and running again. They planned on starting construction in full force, I'll say, after Thanksgiving, after the holiday, but then they ran into some mechanical issues with the dredge. They did get the excavator out there. They started doing some work in December, but because of the mechanical issues, they couldn't get up and running like they had intended to. So they finally were able to get up and running last week.
So it's, okay, so they're back at it again?
Yes.
Okay. Is there any planned completion date now, or?
I believe Turnbull's expecting 4 months to complete this project. Are we?
When does that turtle season come around again? Because you'll have to stop.
No, we don't have to get it done before turtle season. There is some extra monitoring that is required, but that is small change compared to the overall contract amount, but I can let Rich talk.
Rich Turnbull, 50 Agnes Circle, St. Augustine Beach, president of Turnbull Environmental. We are shooting for March 15th. So if the dredge doesn't work, I've got 3 track hose, a long reach, and we will go get the material, and we will back out of there, and we will get it done. If we don't make it, we will start the monitoring. We will pay for the monitoring. It's on our dime, and we will continue until we're done. Typically, the birds in question don't show up until late April, and as long as they're not nesting, we can continue operations. And because we'll be working daily, they're not going to be very encouraged to nest. So I think, certainly by the end of March, but we're shooting for the 15th when we have to start the monitoring. Sea turtle nesting doesn't have to start till May. So, we're going to be well done before.
And that wraps up the entirety of the project down there?
Well, there's a lot of work that could be done.
Yeah.
I think it's the Friends' intent to continue going south with the berm. The Hurricane Matthew breach, which is significantly further south, is overwashing during high tide lunar events. The county has full intention of rebuilding a berm, a FEMA-type berm, and a roadway for the residents on that the southern part of the run. So, and that's part of that permit as well, I believe. They're related at least.
Right.
So, it'll be in everybody's interest to make sure the permit is extended, even though our portion, we want to get done, so.
So we're just waiting to hear about that permit extension you put in for past February.
That's correct.
That would stop us, or stop the dredge if we didn't get that.
If we didn't get that, yes, we'd have
Okay.
to stop working, but I see no problems getting that extension. And also, the 90-something thousand dollars from FEMA, we have not obligated that money towards anything yet. So once we know when we are going to get that, we can have a meeting with the project stakeholders and decide how we want to spend that money on this project, whether it's additional construction, CO planting, or whatever we think is in the best interest of the project.
Okay, that's encouraging news. Okay. All right. Anything else?
That's it.
That's it? Okay. Old business. Nothing on old business. New business. Nothing on new business. Government representative comments. Any government representatives? Okay. Law enforcement. All right.
Josh Underwood, the Sheriff's Office Marine Unit. Just statistics for us from last port meeting to today's port meeting. 141 hours on the water, 45 calls for service, 10 vessel inspections, 12 wake zone patrols, a new derelict boat that is right in front of Pelican Reef next to Mr. Patel's dock. This was a previous derelict boat that was sold at auction, and the his anchor broke and it went adrift. Somehow it sank in front of Pelican Reef. So we're currently working that on the criminal side right now, and then we're trying to get out. It leaked was it diesel? Leaked a fair amount of diesel fuel into the waterway, which the Coast Guard is supposed to be federalizing on, but due to the government shutdown, they're not able to do anything with it. But it was contained for the most part with some booms from the fire department.
Is it a sailboat?
It is a sailboat. It's a 48-foot sailboat made out of concrete. So we worked one boating accident. We've done 12 marine sanitation device inspections, with 8 of those being citations, and 3 boat parades. That's it.
All right.
What do the citations run these days?
So the citations for the marine sanitation, it's $500.
I thought so. That's some high rent there.
That's the state citation. So
Right, okay. So if you don't pay that, you have issues getting your driver's license renewed and all kinds of stuff.
usually if they don't pay it, because we've had it happen before, they get issued a warrant.
Oh, okay, just like if you don't pay any ticket?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, gotcha.
It's still the state criminal ticket.
Right, okay.
Hey, Josh, this
Yes, sir.
is unrelated, but I was on my seawall on Sunday and saw a new gunboat cruising around, that low slung Battleship Gray?
That is the,
50 caliber on the back of it?
That's the SEALs SWIC team boat that they're here doing some training offshore for the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, I'd like to have one of those.
They're docking it in San Sebastian at the Customs National Training Center. There's 2 of them.
Interesting boat.
It is. Anything else?
Thanks.
Thank you,
Just
Commissioner.
a quick note, Sergeant Oak, St. John's County Sheriff's Office. Josh was promoted 2 weeks ago, so now this is Sergeant Josh Underwood.
Hey.
Good job, all right.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Government?
I didn't think about it around my time today.
Okay.
Good afternoon. Teddy Meyer, Parks and Rec. I don't really have a lot. We've had 2 recent conversations with Carl Find, with Commissioner Waldron, and then we had an additional one with Gulfstream on our recent projects, Volano, Palm Valley West/East, Palmetto, Riverdale's a side project. We're working through allocations with TDC, FEBIP, reserve possibly, obviously the find, and then general fund stuff. So really don't have much else than that. Just wanted to come and give you guys an update.
Thank you. Yeah, Tom, thank you. Hey, Tom. Tom Rivers has arrived.
Say here.
Okay.
Hello, Commissioners. Carl Blow, Florida Inland Navigation District, 100 Santa Monica Avenue, the oldest city. I got a handout for you
I knew
guys.
that. Thank you, sir.
It's been a meeting without a handout.
Exactly.
Hey, Carl.
Yeah, Commissioners, first off, just to follow up what Teddy said, we had actually had a couple meetings with the county staff, and the county's working on some really good projects to improve the public access to the waterway. So I'm excited about it. I look forward to seeing the applications come in. Commissioner Waldron is very interested in it. He is, a big boater and fisherman, so I'm really confident that we're going to get some good projects from the county coming in. What I handed out is, I thought this might be helpful, especially to the new commissioners. What you're looking at is the derelict boat activity from last year, and this is a page out of the payment request from the city. And as you can see, especially down on the bottom, I thought this would be interesting to you to see what it costs to dispose of a derelict boat typically. We had, 5 derelict boats here. The total cost to dispose of those boats was about $27,703. Actually, the actual cost was more like $28,156.15. And you guys, fortunately, the Port District put up $7,039.04, and the Florida Inland Navigation District provided $21,117.11. So I thought this would be, as you can see, it kind of gives you a typical cost per boat. Of course, it all depends on where the boat is and the size of it and so forth, and how deep it is, and how long it's been in the water. But it's not, they run somewhere between $5,000 and $10,000 per boat. And one thing that's not on here, I scratched a little note down here, is basically what's not included is the city's administrative cost. And this is more of a shout out for Mr. Pickett and his guys, but they have to, one, put up the upfront money to get this done, plus put the contract out for bid, administer the contract, And so if you had to factor that cost in, say if you had to hire Taylor to do it, which I have a long relationship with Taylor Engineering, you'd have to pay a significant amount of money for them to administer the contract. So all that I just thought this would give you kind of an idea of what this derelict boat situation costs on a typical year. And then the next page over is what you just recently approved. And what this is a page out of a grant application to FINE, which is actually on our agenda here this week. It's under the consent agenda with probably 4 others from different counties. But I believe you guys have already approved providing the $4,492, and of course FINE would provide $17,965, or excuse me, $13,473 for a total cost of $17,965 plus the city's administration costs. But also they broke out on here, some of the costs. For instance, this Lazy Bones is a 30-foot skiff. The towing, salvage towing, $6,350. The haul out and transport to the WWTF is a water sewer plant, I believe. Is what happens is they get these boats to St. Augustine Marine, and St. Augustine Marine hauls them out. Then the city hauls them over to their water treatment plant, and they break them up and haul them to the landfill. So that kind of, I thought that you might find this interesting to see how this whole process works. But other than that, that's all I have to report, unless you got any questions for me.
I have a question for you, Mr. Carl.
Yes, ma'am.
Has there any, I'm sure there has been, but what kind of talk has there been about possibly putting some jetties out in our inlet? You ever heard tell of any talk like that?
Well, this board's discussed it numerous times over the years, and this goes back some time. Perhaps you guys can remember better than I can, but I think we asked Taylor to kind of come up with some really rough numbers, probably 10, 15 years ago, to basically install primarily a north jetty. And it was in the area of $40 million. So obviously...
That was a federal project? Because I looked into a lot of the different places that the federal government is doing these projects, and it's usually 20% from us locally.
Well, the problem with the federal government is this is a shallow, what they consider a shallow draft inlet. It's
Right.
not a high priority. They prioritize federal funding for your deep draft inlets like the Port of
Sure.
Jacksonville, Port
Well,
Everglades.
Ponce Inlet, not much going on down there traffic-wise, a lot less than us even.
Well, Ponce does have a Coast Guard station,
Right.
which really benefits them as far as getting federal dollars. There was at one time some discussion, and maybe you can help me, I can't, if I get the details wrong. They thought about doing some jetty work on the south side of Ponce Inlet, but what happened was there's a very active surfer community down there, and they kind of killed the deal because they were concerned it would mess up the break. So I don't think they ever got to figuring out who was going to pay for that, but anyway, that Ponce is, I think, going to remain substantially like it is. Actually, there's a dredging project going on down there. It's either about to start. I've got it in my, I can give you some information.
What, do they have, a
on that.
4,000-foot jetty or so on both sides now? Did they eventually go out on both sides?
We actually got a state permit, I believe, to extend the south jetty. We were not going to make any modifications to the north jetty.
Are we talking about here in St. Augustine?
Ponce, you're asking
Okay,
about
yes.
Ponce, right?
Yeah.
And
Yes.
we actually got federal authorization to construct the project, but no money allocated.
Money, no.
And we had that authorization for a long time, 15
no
years,
funding.
I'd say at least, and the federal government never allocated any money to that. So the county has now given up on that idea.
Well, and I think, and a lot of it too was the surfers in New Smyrna were very concerned about
They've always-
anything we do down there.
Yeah, they voiced their opinion, but we ran some extra modeling and came up with a different jetty design to appease everyone down there.
As an engineer, would you say that, for example, the terrible problem they're having on Volano, not just the problem we have of the inlet filling, but would a jetty on the north side, particularly of the St. Augustine Inlet, make a big difference to help those people reclaim sand?
The touchy subject up there right now is all the erosion that's been happening on Porpoise Point. So if you extended or sand tighten that north jetty, you would likely trap more sand on Volano Beach and help the people on Volano Beach. But in doing so, you're preventing sand from going through or over that jetty and onto Porpoise Point. So you can't make any modifications to the north jetty without impacting somebody up there.
Yeah, actually, the Corps recently looked at that and ran the modeling on it, and they were going to go forward with some sand tightening of that north jetty.
But they didn't say anything about the funding on it, or?
Actually, they had federal funds to do that, but they decided not to go forward because of just as Michael's telling you, is that they were concerned about the possible negative impact to Porpoise Point.
Porpoise Point lost a couple hundred feet of beach width over the last year or two, and that erosion got real close to the road and some houses up there. So,
and you're saying that a jetty out in front of Porpoise Point would cost it more sand?
No, what it was is there's an existing jetty on the north side. Now, most of the time it's buried under sand.
Right.
But the idea, and according to the Corps, the way that jetty is supposed to work is kind of allow sand to bypass it. Right. But at any rate, initially they were going to sand tighten it in order to hold that sand on the beach.
Right.
But because of the dramatic changes in Porpoise Point and those houses that were threatened, the Corps was concerned that they didn't want to do anything and possibly have a negative result on the houses.
I'm just thinking about all the jetties that I know up and down the East Coast, and they're just a godsend for the inlet, and especially on the East Coast anywhere, you have that southerly current.
Right.
And it seems like the folks on the north side always get the best benefit out of that north.
Well, you're right. Yeah, actually, typically when you look at Jacksonville or any of these deep drafts where you have these big jetties that go way out,
right.
Yeah, the sand accretes on the north side. In fact, right now in Brevard County at Port Canaveral, they're taking sand from the north side and shooting it to the south side to re-nourish Cocoa Beach. But this jetty, I mean, to have that happen here, you'd have to really build a much more substantial jetty much further out into the ocean. And that's where that
what is that, sir? I mean, 4,000 feet? Is that substantial, or?
I think it was 3,000, wasn't it?
For St. Augustine?
Just even under 4? Okay.
That was before my time working on
So how can we get a hold of this study that the Corps gave up on? Because it sounds so confusing to me. I'd like to look at that.
I tell you what you'd find interesting is, I believe in an older inlet management plan that Taylor did, and I may be wrong, they talk about the potential of building a north jetty, and they actually had a couple scenarios. And it's in a document. I just can't remember. I know I've seen it, but.
And that was who that did that?
This board.
Oh, the board did
We're going back now 15 something years.
I think that was a late 1990s.
So much would have changed in that period of time. I guess we'd have to do something.
Yeah, it was just a preliminary study that I think maybe Taylor wrote up a report when they first came on board, and they looked at several scenarios without any computer modeling. And did some rough costs. I just remember the $40 million figure, and of course the challenge there is as far as federal dollars. The federal government is they would never spend that kind of money on this.
Well, I've looked at a couple other like even Tangiers Island up in Virginia, is they actually part of Maryland or Virginia. They're getting one right now. It's a shallow water jetty. They've had a lot of problems like this. There are some out there, and I was thinking 4,000 would be but if under 4, but anyways, I found several projects for around $20 million, where the local folks only in the state only had to come up with 20%. And here's my question. Those little communities like Tangier Island, the way they did it was they went to their House of Representatives, and I guess that would be Mr. Jacksonville, y'all know his name.
Sheriff
Yes,
Rutherford?
right, who's our House of Representative now. And then, of course, our governor is a longtime resident of Ponte Vedra and may be able to help us out with the federal government. And is there some reason we shouldn't give it a shot again?
Well, I'm no expert on this, but I've been messing with it long enough to know that it's a political exercise, and it takes a lot of time and a lot of effort, and there's a lot of moving parts. And like, for instance, we'll be going up to D.C. We have a lobbyist in D.C., and they are constantly working on trying to secure federal funding for the Intercoastal Waterway. And it's very, let me put it this way, it is extremely competitive, and politics does enter the equation a lot. And a lot depends on where your local representative is as far as seniority, and what committees they're on, and that sort of thing. So I think Commissioner Brown, I think you've got some experience in D.C. You might be able to better explain.
Well, I'm not saying it would be easy. I was just thinking most of these communities manage to do it in about 4 to 5 years.
Well, I would imagine when you look at each particular situation, there's probably quite a story surrounding how they got that done. Mm-hmm. Sometimes all the stars line up just right, and you've got your right local guys are in the right committees and the right position of power to get that done. So, but to answer your question on ponds, we're actually dredging down there right now. Cavachi's the contractor, and they are dredging both the inlet and the Intercoastal Waterway, and they should finish up. They started in July, and they're supposed to be complete in July of 2019, so it's about a year project. But they're dredging. What happened, the Corps combined a inlet project with an intercoastal project, and to save some money, and also we're actually dredging the Coast Guard basin at the same time. So, and I guess looks like about 400,000 cubic yards total. And what they're doing there is, it's called a near shore placement, is instead of putting it on the beach, they're putting it south of the inlet, but just beyond the breakers. And it's been a pretty successful project. The locals like it because it doesn't stop driving on the beach. And the experience they're having with near shore placements is that over a relatively short period of time, that sand ends up on the beach. So that's the thing about near shore placement. We do it here sometimes, but once as you get further south, where you have living reefs, like say kind of south of Brevard County, then you got an issue of protecting the reef. But we don't have living reefs off our beaches, so it's viable. So that's all I know. Thanks.
The Army Corps, who's our contact with them, the person who would have been in charge of that study for the jetties? Do you know offhand?
Well, let's see. There's several people working on that. I'd have to get back to you on that.
So we don't have like a regular representative from the Corps?
Well, it's not really. Depends on the activity.
I would guess Jason Howard would be the contact for the jetty.
It was Jason. He was the project manager on that. But Jason's and his primary responsibility is beach renourishment, and And then we have another person that's responsible for the intercoastal waterway.
What office is he out of locally? He's out of Jacksonville?
He's the Jax District, the Army Corps of Engineers.
5 p.m. Work now. Board meeting.
Thanks.
Thanks, Carl.
Thank you. All right. Anybody else from the government? Public comment. This is where anybody from the public can come up. Oh. Comments by commissioners. Commissioner Way, any comments?
Nope.
Tom, Commissioner? No? Barry? No?
I wanted to ask Commissioner Rivers, has there been any more movement on your proposal to expand the port's borders to the...
Still working with the legislators to see if I can get them all on board.
Okay. Is there anything else that any of the rest of us could be doing that would be helpful to push that forward?
The only thing I could say would be a letter, to all three of them, to Representative Renner, Representative Stevenson, and the Senator. The more communications they get, I think that it's, the squeaky wheel gets the grease.
Sure.
They've been all open to, talking about it, but I'm hoping this legislative session, they'll do something about it.
Mm-hmm.
So,
great.
nothing really new.
So would you recommend a letter from each one of us, or?
I think it would help. I think it would help.
Or, yeah, should it come from the board as a whole?
Well,
would that be?
I asked them, see, the board wrote a letter, the board agreed to this. Mm-hmm. And when I made my presentation to the legislative committee, I asked them if each of them had heard about it, and they all had. So I don't know, I'm just thinking that there's many community members, several people in the community, in fact, several people in here have supported the idea. And so I think as many people as can, would write to the three legislators, and I think it would help.
Okay.
Tom, are you making the effort for countywide, or carving out some more areas, or you're going for the whole county? The taxing district, it'll now encompass the entire county.
It doesn't come from the county now.
Oh, I know, that's what you're going for,
yes.
yeah, it's the entire county, that's what I thought.
Right?
I have one little comment.
Okay, wait, Nat, did you have any?
Oh, yeah, no, that's great, thanks.
Okay, you're up.
And this goes back to you trying to find somebody with a barge to come help us. That happens so much, and it's even worse after a hurricane. And I guess it goes on for years and years and years. So I just started looking. We don't actually own anything really or do any work. The board, we don't have employees, etc. But you wouldn't believe what we could buy a barge for. I'm talking about 80 feet with a hopper barge at one end, a mechanical dredge at the other. $300,000 range. I mean, a barge that's working daily, still good to go. With what's going on down at Matanzas, I mean, we could keep a barge forever. If we weren't using it, it could be leased out to companies like Yelton who needs a barge here, because that's got to be part of the difficulty in doing their work. If the barge is in Jacksonville, they're going to finish the work there, of course, before they bring it back down, right? It's just something that we could think about. I'd like to get permission to make a motion so that I could look into this further and maybe present a report.
Absolutely. Sure.
On, everything that might be out there, what our cost would be. Of course, then we would have to either hire a local company that could staff it or just hire a barge operator and crew.
Or is that something that the city should potentially?
We could, I tell you what, there's a lot of opportunities right there, but we're hog-tied with so many different things, and maybe something like that could do a purpose, could even put in workers.
Well, the thing that I would, if you're going to do that, is you're going to have to look into workman's comp.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Also, and I know that the workman's comp for a marine contractor would blow your mind.
I'm sure it's just I'm certain that it will, but look what we pay to get things done, and maybe not even get them all the way done. Even this company right here, this fellow could lease that barge from us. But that barge would always be in St. Augustine or in the district here. It could just about camp out down there at Matanzas and just always keep throwing it up on the beach. It would never go to waste.
Well, you'd probably have $20,000 just in dockage. not to mention
Well,
insurance.
now we've got, whatever it is, I'd like to put together some kind of report so we get a look at it. Something like that wouldn't have to really be docked. Couldn't we put or use it on the backside of those dolphins north of Volano Bridge? I'm not sure it ever sits still, to tell you the truth. I'm not sure it would need to be docked for too long.
I'd definitely like to hear more info, if you want to come back and present.
Can I bring in a report of all the monies and insurances and,
Be interesting,
okay.
yes,
To
absolutely.
see what that looks like. Okay, great.
Great. Anything else, Andy?
No, thank you.
Okay, then it looks like our next meeting, 2019. So be sure I'm seeing that right? Yep. That's it. Then, if there's nothing else,
19th, Tuesday? Okay.
we're adjourned.
Great.
Okay.
February 19th.
1919.